Clive Barker Podcast Audio Commentaries.
Thanks to your generous donations to our Kickstarter funding campaign,
Clive Barker Podcast presents Fundraiser 8 Sell.
Welcome. This is episode 356 of the Clive Barker Podcast. Good morning, Jose.
Good morning, Ryan. How you doing today?
Good. I've got Occupy Midian fever again.
Oh no.
Yeah, and of course you know why that is, right?
Yes, because we're about to do a commentary / discussion for the theatrical cut of Nightbreed.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's been actually a bunch of years since I've seen this version again, because once Occupy Midian got going, and then we had the director's cut, and then the 2017 Cabal cut Blu-ray. I just never looked back. I mean, even when I got you and I both got the box set that included the theatrical cut, I just didn't take the time to, I've watched the other versions so many times, but I never went back and watched this one again. And so I'm excited to do that.
We had like 20 years of watching this version, so it's kind of ingrained in our brain.
That's true.
And that is actually the version that made us fall in love with Nightbreed. And then I think I saw the movie first, and then I read the book. So it's very meaningful. It's very important for us. The theatrical cut of Nightbreed, it's still pretty good.
So, and the reason, of course, that we're doing this, we're going through Clive Barker's A to Z of horror, and we got to the letter V for vice versa, and that chapter is all about Clive Barker's movies. And we thought, well, we've done all Clive Barker's movies, and we were originally going to skip this chapter, and then we thought, you know what? We never actually did an audio commentary for the theatrical cut, because we were deep into Occupy Midian, and the director's cut came out by the time we started doing these commentaries, and so it's like, yeah, we're doing that. And then we got an official audio commentary that's on the disc you and I did for the 2017 Cabal cut Blu-ray. And so that, that was a huge, I still feel really honored that they let us do that, but we never went back to do this one. So I'm happy to do it now, because this movie is the thing that was the springboard for me, my love of Clive's stuff. And,
sure.
And so seeing this version of, this movie, of course, I'm watching it in 1080p on the Shout Factory limited edition set, of the theatrical cut.
Uh-huh.
And for people out there watching the movie, it's hard, if you're watching it on streaming, it's hard to know which version you're getting until you start watching it, because the runtime for the original version is 1 hour 41 minutes and 40 seconds. And otherwise, it's everywhere you look, they just call it Nightbreed, and you don't know if you're getting the theatrical cut or the director's cut right away.
Turns out that the director's cut is about 2 hours, and this one is 100 minutes, almost to the second.
Yeah.
And but I'm stoked, man. You're watching this on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I am watching this on the OG DVD, the original DVD that I had.
Yeah.
Not the on-demand. I don't think this one is the one on-demand that you can get from Amazon, or you used to be able to get.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's still available from like the, what was it called? The something archive?
The Warner Archive?
Warner Archive on-demand, yeah.
Yeah. And I have that DVD too still, because it's autographed, so I never got rid of it. And I still have my Laserdisc. And if you want to be sure you're getting the theatrical cut, that may be the way to go. Dust off the old DVD or the VHS or the Laserdisc and watch it with us that way.
Right. Mine is actually signed by Ann Bobby.
Oh, awesome.
To Jose at last! ! Heart, Ann Bobby.
Yeah.
Because we finally met in a convention in California.
Yeah.
So
that was a little convention. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so that was fun getting to meet her. I'm paused at the Morgan Creek logo.
Me too. I'm on the little backwards S-shaped swoosh of the Morgan Creek logo.
Right.
All right. Do you want to count us down? All right. So one thing really quick before we get started, I did want to mention that I have a Twitter poll up on at BarkerCast Twitter. What is your favorite version of Nightbreed? We've got on there the theatrical cut, the director's cut, the Cabal Cut 2017 Blu-ray, and early Cabal cuts. That kind of mashes together all the different versions that Russell Charrington and Jimmy Johnson put together for the various film festivals and conventions, in between 2012 and 2013.
Around the world.
Yeah. So, the Occupy Midian account had to vote for the early Cabal cut, because, of course, I personally voted for the 2017 Blu-ray. That's what's ahead right now, actually, is the 2017 Blu-ray.
I voted for that one, too. Confession time. I did vote for that one.
Yeah.
Even though I was like, I could put in the director's cut, but it's what a lot of people are already going to do that. And it is the definitive version for me, but it's like the one that I enjoy the most was probably the Cabal Cut Blu-ray because it's got more stuff.
Yeah.
And to me, the more the merrier.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
And we got to be a part of that, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah. It's got our own commentary track on there.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of fun. It took a while to do, and I really went overboard on the details and the trivia. So if you have a copy of that, you will see me talking about the hangars and the bays that they were working on, and that there was like a lumber sign on one of the places, all sorts of things that I found out during our interviews with actors and stuff that I found out on my own.
And we did run-throughs of that. I mean, we worked really hard on that commentary. And I think it shows.
False starts?
Yeah, we sure did.
We have a few false starts. You remember that?
Yeah, we sure did.
We're doing it. We're like, oh, shucks. Let's go back and start over.
Yeah. Yeah, so but here we are back to the theatrical cut, the version that started it all. We went back in the first time you and I watched this. I'm sure neither one of us really knew about all the controversy and the that this is not the version that Clive Barker wanted. I mean, this is the movie that got me into Clive Barker in the first place. I think I said that a little bit ago. But we are paused at the Morgan Creek logo. So, Jose, do you want to count us down?
Sure. So, as usual, if you want to watch the movie while listening to us on the commentary track, you can go to your disc of choice, pause at the Morgan Creek logo, and now when I count down, you will hit play. Ready? 3, 2, 1, play. There we go. We got the Morgan Creek.
Yeah. And
you called it the backwards S swoosh.
Yeah. Well, and one thing we'd kind of have talked about or learned over the course of Occupy Midian is that Morgan Creek may not have been exactly the ones behind all of the changes and kind of pushing Clive out of the editing and all of that. It may have come from 20th Century Fox.
Yeah, who were the distributors.
Yeah.
I've seen so many misinformation out there, like, oh, the MPAA made them cut a whole bunch of stuff from the movie. It's like, it wasn't really the MPAA. It was Morgan Creek and Fox. They kind of were worried about, how the movie would be perceived and how to market the movie. They didn't really know exactly how to do that, so they decided to have a few reshoots.
It didn't fit neatly into a box. It's not. It's got elements of slasher film. It's got elements of fantasy. It's tough. It's tough to I'm not a big fan of genres and stuff anyway, and I just like good movies.
Here we see the Wall of Prophecy painted by Ralph McQuarrie. You had that little tree full of Nightbreed. Actually, that tree, the full image of that tree has one side of the tree is darkness, the other side is light. So you got the black breed on one side, and the other one is angelic breed.
Yeah.
You have here's the Grateful Dead skull.
Right.
And you see the Inquisitors killing the breed. So there's kind of a little sequence going on here. It kind of gives you a little information about tries to give you a little information about the story of the breed, even though it was not super long.
Yeah.
And there's the 2 editors for the movie, because that's a little controversy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Richard Martin.
Clive Barker wanted to be involved in the editing, and he got locked out.
Yeah, so Richard Martin left the editing process because he was a little frustrated with what they wanted to do with the movie. They brought in Mark Goldblatt, who ended up doing the final cut of the movie.
Yeah, and watching this now, it does feel very rushed. Not rushed like it's a bad job, but rushed like we don't take very much time at all to get to know any of the characters or what's going on. It's just like get to the important stuff fast, and you really feel it now after a bunch of years of watching these extended versions of the movie.
There you had Toledo, the werewolf, written for the screen and directed by Clive Barker, with a dog, which is kind of a callback to like Day of the Dog Company. You know, you had Pelican biting
This opening
chest.
Dream sequence is really interesting because it's a really, really cool scene, right? But it's all full of characters that were added in later as reshoots. And And so, you know, when people out there say, I want to see Clive Barker's original vision, it's like, you know, in theory, that's a good idea, but, you know, without reshoots, we wouldn't have Shuna Sassy or Leroy Gom or Devil Lude. That would be a real shame. You know, it's what you got all this great material. I mean, Shuna Sassy's everybody loves her, right? What would be the point of cutting those things out? You know, it's throwing the baby out with the bathwater, I say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know to what extent those characters weren't in the movie or just given more time in the reshoots. But definitely this dream sequence is part of the reshoots.
Yeah. Because
in the Cabal cut, and I don't want to turn this into like a big, you know, comparison between the director's cut and whatever, but there's a whole block of new scenes at the beginning of the director's cut, right? With showing Boone working at a garage, and then Laurie comes in. Yeah. And this actual scene starts later in the movie. So
yeah, and so they in the director's cut, I mean the theatrical cut, of course, they throw us right into Boone's dream. Decker's been calling him. You know, she says, "Hey, you should go see him," and it's like. It's all just move the story along. We don't know what Boone does for a living. We don't know what Laurie does for a living. And we'll never know because this movie just really wants to just, you know, keep it going. Move it along. You know, what's next?
I always thought that Boone doesn't look tormented enough. And the dream doesn't sound scary enough. It doesn't seem scary enough to me. So it's like, it feels like... you know, he's a good-looking guy. He's got clean hair. He looks good. He's shaved. Yeah. And the dream sequence is not really that scary. So I was like, I wish they would have made him a little more tormented in the movie. Yeah.
Well, yeah. In Cabal, he was a mess. And Clive Barker's female protagonists in the books are typically more like kind of overweight daydreamer types. You know, and you know, like Kirsty in the Hellbound Heart would not look like she did in the movie, and and I think the same for Laurie.
Yeah, they usually have a stronger personality. In the book, Laurie seems to be a little more. I wouldn't say submissive, but she seems to be a little more like. She's got like a weaker personality than Boone a little bit, but then she kind of takes over, and when she changes, she really becomes more assertive and empowered.
Yeah, and she's really she's got a lot of interior monologue that you can't do in a movie.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like self-discovery and stuff like that that's pretty tough to do in a movie. So this part always scared the crap out of me. It's like, it doesn't matter how many times you see this, this always puts me on edge.
Yeah. That lady's actually an opera singer.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And this is a little something that's explained in Cabal a lot, but it only gets a couple of seconds of screen time. And here is the way Decker does cross shape attacks with his sword, with his knives. You know, he does a cross, a plus over and over and over on his victims until they die.
Yeah. So the character is named Melissa Rickman, and this is Lou Rickman. And this guy is the Rickman boy.
Yeah, and seeing this now again in high definition, you see the tears in his eyes. It's really haunting and horrifying. This kid is just frozen in place, and he doesn't know what to do. His he wants his parents for help, right, and they're gone.
Right. So that was the Calgary,
skyline. Seascape.
Yeah. It's funny that it looks like Cronenberg. If you start paying attention to the background once you've seen this movie too many times, you start seeing what's on his office. You got the masks there on one side. You got some modern sculpture, and you have like these large frame prints on the wall of looks like dance steps. So
weird.
Yeah.
Right, and later on he says, "Quite a dance, huh? Death everywhere, and you and me in the middle."
Good catch. Yeah, because you got the footprints on the print or the framed art, and then there's the little arrows saying where the feet go.
Yeah, so, but it's very sterile, right? It's definitely has this feel of a person trying his best to be human but failing.
I wonder where this location was. I wonder if they actually went to an office building, or if this is like one of those, Pinewood offices.
Oh, I bet it's Pinewood.
Could be.
Yeah.
And
this
Decker here is just so creepy.
And this office doesn't make you feel. My wife is a therapist. This office would not make you feel comfortable. I mean, the chair is far away from his desk, and it's it's so sparse, and it feels like it's like so clinical. Yeah, there's those footprints with the dance steps. Yeah. Weird.
So one thing that bothered me a little bit was that in this scene, Decker being the psychiatrist, I guess, he is telling him that he suspects that he killed those families because of the things he described while he was under hypnosis. And of course, if you read the book, you understand that it wasn't exactly so much him being under hypnosis. It was actually Decker programming him to believe that he had done these things.
Yeah.
Although I believe that some of the stuff that he would record would be also Boone talking about his dreams, and that part did involve Midian, and that part was real.
Yeah. So when he says, "Would you like to hear them?"
Yeah,
and to me,
it bothers me.
I always thought that was a bluff. It's like, what if he did listen?
Yeah, totally a bluff. But what bothers me is that he would be breaking his, patient-doctor confidentiality if he went to the police to give him all this information. So, like you said, it's a bluff. He's trying to make him go over the edge and kill himself.
I don't know I don't know the rules in Canada, but in the United States, if they're putting themselves or others in harm's way, then they have to. They not only are, it's not just that they're breaking doctor-patient confidentiality, but they have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, did you see that Boone's apartment was all fancy? It had like a stained glass windows.
Yeah.
And there was a metallic print of a lady like in a nightgown in front of like a big white circle. And when you in the director's cut, you will see other shots of Boone's apartment.
He's got a fireplace.
He's got a fireplace. He's got like this poster, a poster for a Babe Rainbow, which was an art piece from Peter Blake from 1968, which is basically, he's got a bunch of hubcaps on the wall. In the center, there is a poster with Babe Rainbow, which is a hot-looking girl in a bikini surrounded by a rainbow frame. So it's interesting to look back into the background and see that stuff. But Laurie had that fancy jacket with all the leather hanging off of it because she just got back from singing at the nightclub. Because, like you said, this movie is a little rushed in the sense that if you see the director's cut, it's like there's a whole bunch of stuff that matches, what we're seeing here in this one, but without those blocks of footage, we don't have a way of knowing what Boone does, what Laurie does, why she's got that jacket on. But yeah, she's a performer, and she sings Johnny Get Angry in the director's cut. And here's the wonderful Hugh Ross.
Yeah. And something that's never answered is, is he a Nightbreed right? Hugh Ross's character, Narcisse, right? Is he a Nightbreed right now, or is he a Nightbreed after he rips his skin off of his head?
I think he is a Nightbreed now. Yeah. Just like Boone is a Nightbreed now, he just hasn't found that out yet.
But he says, I was dying when you had your way with me, and that makes you think that he had died and was reborn as a Nightbreed.
Well, if you go back to, and of course this is like all behind the scenes stuff, but originally and in the book, Narcisse is really like different underneath his skin, right?
Oh, yeah, he's like he's got this like lizardy alien looking face.
Yeah, and even in the first makeup designs that they did for Hugh Ross, there's a picture of one of those where once he cuts his scalp out, he's got scaly green skin underneath.
Yeah.
But then for some reason they decided to go with just, the messy, bloody, under skin. But even then, it's like it's not a human anatomy thing that he shows up when he takes off his scalp, like those weird ridges and whatever. It's not really like human anatomy.
Well, and I always used to think that it was. I used to think that it was human anatomy, and it's not until seeing this in high definition, it's like, oh, wait a minute, that's kind of a weird alien anatomy, and he's. Yeah. I thought it was just like, viscera and stuff, but it's not.
And of course, viscera on the head, though. I'm joking. I know what you meant. Like glistening, like bloody scalp. And,
Of course, there's no like muscles on your head. But.
Skull or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
But so what I was going to say about Hugh is that in the book, he takes off his face, not his scalp. But of course, being an actor and being a real person doing a movie, it would be hard for him to emote if he had to have like a whole bunch of makeup on his face.
Yeah.
Although maybe Doug Bradley would disagree. But
and Clive Barker in interviews had said that we already did that in Hellraiser with Frank, and so they went the opposite way, and they left the face and cut out everything around it.
Right. And there we saw the doctor, Kenneth Nelson. He's the same doctor that tells him that he was having a bad trip, old buddy.
Oh yeah,
he's also one of the guys in the. Yeah, he's also one of the guys in the housewarming party in Hellraiser.
Oh God, I didn't even think about that. That's wow. Yeah. Right. The one that said we should be making a move too, and like gets up to leave, and Larry's like, no, this is the night of the paper hat.
Right. So he was actually born in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, and then he was a gay actor, and he did a lot of stuff in off-Broadway shows, and he did The Boys in the Band, which is a movie about gay life in New York City, and then they showed up in the 1970 film version directed by William Friedkin, and so this was filmed in 1989. Unfortunately, 4 years later, after doing this film, Nelson died of AIDS-related complications in London. And here we have... Oh, I was looking last night again at Google Earth, and I was like, north of Athabasca, east of Peace River, north of Dwyer. Yeah. And I was like, first of all, I couldn't find Dwyer, Canada. And if someone lives in Dwyer, Canada, listening to this, you can shout at me all you want. Send me a postcard from Dwyer so I can tell that it's a real place, because I could not find on Google Earth Dwyer, Canada.
Well, in the 90s when I was driving, between Washington and Alaska, I looked because it's it would be in my path, just a little bit to the east, but Peace River is there, right? And and boy, Sheer Neck is not real. I think Dwyer may have been on my map when I was looking, when we were traveling, but it's not on any maps now. I like you, I tried to find it too, and you can't find it.
Yeah. But looking at the area east of Peace River, and my dad worked at Peace River for a while at some construction site. But I was looking at north of Athabasca, east of Peace River. It's a huge wooded area. It really is.
It is.
So it's an interesting place that he would put in to have like Midian be a location in the middle of that, just a forgotten place in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and it's funny they don't say near Sheer Neck in Narcissus Directions. You'd think that would be the biggest landmark of all of them.
Yeah. It seems like they get there real quick from Sheer Neck.
Yeah.
And this is the Pinewood backlot, right? This is where they just put a bunch of giant styrofoam blocks there, painted them up.
Yeah. I think I'll take a nap here.
Yeah.
One thing that I was thinking about as I was, rewatching this movie last night is that it's amazing that the Nightbreed haven't been discovered more than they have, because every time anybody sets foot in there, they have some kind of an encounter with the Nightbreed.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, here's Boone, and then later Laurie is going to see Babette lying on the ground. And
Frank, the dog.
Yeah.
So what is Frank? Is he like a Boston...
Boston Terrier.
Yeah, there's always another breed that looks a lot like a Boston Terrier that I always mix them up.
Yeah.
He's got the bulgy eyes. I just saw this week I was at a bar and someone had a little Boston Terrier there, and Sarah turned to me and said, "That's just like Frank the dog." I was like, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool that she knew that.
There's a black and white kind of tuxedo Boston Terrier. And here's Pelican.
So here we're back to all of the, of course, the original, the voices that were edited in ADR. And Nicholas Vince never really, when we talked to him, he wasn't really sure if that was his voice or if it was dubbed in later, because they put, effects on it and stuff.
Yeah, it doesn't really sound like Nicholas Vince. I have to watch the Cabal cut again and see if...
But it's also 20 plus years, after we talked to him, before we talked to him. Right. I mean, that this is happening too, and Simon Bamford, it sounds a little bit like his voice when he talks, but like a kind of a more juvenile version. It's hard to know for sure.
You got to moisturize those hands, Pelican, buddy.
Yeah.
He's got all the skin kind of hanging out of it.
So, and one thing I noticed when watching this last night is that Pelican's shirt looks pretty clean now, but when he's talking to Laurie, he's got blood all over him. And is that just from biting Boone? His whole front of his shirt is all covered in blood.
Maybe he had a snack.
Yeah, I guess so.
Which brings the inevitable question: who does the Nightbreed laundry?
Yeah, right.
There's a Nightbreed with 6 arms that washes like shirts all day.
Yeah. Do they have an electric bill?
It's just, river water. It's just cold.
Yeah, right. Maybe they have to. Do they have to travel at night to Peace River to get water? Do they even need water?
Yeah.
And there's this whole debate about, like, are they all undead? Just because Boone doesn't mean all of them are.
I think it's just that, when he says Oz is over the rainbow and Midian's where the monsters live, it's like, I always thought of that as like an indication that this is a fantasy land now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in the book, it's a little clearer about what they are. But here in the movie, like you said, Hugh Ross, character Narcisse saying, I was dying when you had your way with me. And it seems like, they make Boone die and return, which is kind of like a Jesus thing.
Yeah.
But they're not exactly like vampires or zombies, right? So
right, but this movie, and maybe through no fault of Clive's, because he didn't edit, he had no part in the editing of this theatrical cut. But they sort of imply that if you want to be Nightbreed, you got to die first.
A little bit, yeah. Right?
Yeah. I mean, and later on we find out that's not the case,
And Laurie has to die before she comes back. It's like, like something that you could like transmit by biting. As opposite to like in the book, it's like these are the last remnants of the great tribes.
Yeah.
So these are like the world was more diverse at one time, and there were like fantastic creatures, like the drummer that we see there, and like Peliquin's breed.
And he says, the life you lived will be a dream. It's like you really have to die and come back to life as a Nightbreed. But when you read all the backstories of the different breed, it's not necessarily the case for all of them.
Yeah.
Well, and we know that that Peliquin is a qualm, and he's got the bite that mocks death. So it's all really specific to being bitten by Peliquin in this case. But did Narcisse have to die to come back as a Nightbreed? They sort of imply that, but it also is not, that's not really the case in the book.
Cronenberg.
Yeah, it's so chilling, awesome. Like him saying, "I believe you." He's got a gun.
Of course. This is the moment where you're already kind of suspecting that he's not.
Yeah. As soon as Peliquin said he lied, then it's like, oh.
True, yeah, that's the beginning of it, but this is where you really confirm that, oh yeah, he's really creepy.
And the different versions of Nightbreed, they all give away the moment when you learn that Decker is the killer at different points in the movie. So, that's an important distinction between the different versions.
I was just grabbing Clive Barker's Nightbreed, the making of the film book.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is one of those books that if you got it, awesome. If you don't got it, it's hard to find.
Yeah.
This is the thing that showed me originally the Fontana. Was it Fontana books? I think. And this shot is really great.
Yeah. Well, and you were in Portugal. And that book didn't get published in the United States, so I never even knew about it until I heard about it from you, when we started this podcast.
Yeah, this was a Fontana Collins release, and it was kind of a British import for me.
Yeah.
And when I looked at it, it had so much stuff, so many pictures in here of things that you never saw in the movie. And I was like, what? Where is this in the movie? And, back then when this came out, I was like, I think I saw the movie first, and then I got the comic books, and then I got the book. So the movie came out in Portugal like in 1991. It premiered in like our Fantasporto Fantastic Film Festival. That was kind of like the Portuguese/European premiere. I don't think I saw it there. I think I saw it, rented a VHS tape, and then me and my brother bought the tape, which was kind of expensive.
Did it have Portuguese subtitles on it, or was it just in English?
Yeah, it had Portuguese subtitles on it, and the cover was that Gates of Midian with like a half shadowy like face of Boone with like a red eye.
That's cool. I would love to. I think that movie covers should be subtle like that instead of just shoving the whole movie in your face.
Yeah. And then I got this book, I think, before I visited Canada. I got the making of the film book from the British bookstore that would import things in Portugal. And then that's when I read it. I was like, wow, this is crazy. And finally, I read the Nightbreed comic books, the first 4 issues, which are basically the adaptation of the film. So, and then finally at one point I got the DVD, which I couldn't really watch for a while because it was a Region 1 DVD. And my player was Region 2. Yeah. So for the longest time, I couldn't watch the DVD. So I just had to watch it on VHS.
I saw this movie. A friend of mine rented it, and my parents didn't let me watch rated R movies, so I saw it at a friend's house, and I was 16, and after that I was like, oh my god, I love this so much, and I went out and bought Cabal, and I read Cabal, and then I bought the Books of Blood, and started watching the Hellraiser movies, and I started reading everything of Clive's in chronological order after that. all the way up to The Great and Secret Show, because that was the last book, and then I went to the book signing for Imagica when I hadn't quite read it yet. I bought it right there at the bookstore where the signing was.
Isn't this shot amazing? Like Decker in his sanctum with all his knives on the table.
Yeah, and those weird bubbling things. That would be an expensive installation to have in his secret room there.
And I always wanted to know, what are those prints repeated in the wall behind him? It looks like a guy shot in the face or something.
Yeah, and it's repeated over and over and over and over again. And those bubbling tubes or whatever are sort of implying his, he's so angry, his boiling blood, right? Because he's so mad that I took it to mean that he's angry that you can kill somebody and they're still not dead, right? And his his whole thing is he loves the finality of death and putting something to death and it's gone.
Right, and this is like he escaped him,
Yeah. Yeah, but then you could also read it to mean he's angry because if Boone's still alive, then he could give away the fact that he's not really the killer.
Oh my God, I'm looking at the Buffalo Days rodeo red hats, and I'm just getting flashbacks.
That I noticed. I never noticed this before, but when Lori and what's her face? God, what is her name?
Oh, yeah, I know who you mean. Lori and Cheryl Ann.
Cheryl Ann, yeah. When they go to the cemetery, they have one of those hats on the dashboard.
Yeah. Because she went to the rodeo. Yeah, because Cheryl Ann was at the rodeo.
Yeah, she probably wouldn't be caught dead wearing that hat, but I'm sure she took it to be polite. Sure.
It's a fun interaction with them here in the bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah, she's not gonna coddle Lori. She's just gonna be like, you know what? Life happens and people are bad, and you do the best you can.
Yeah, and women finding another woman crying in the bathroom is not really that uncommon, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like just the other day, Sarah was at a bar with me, and she went to the bathroom, and there was a lady there crying. And after we came out...
Did she say, is it men or money?
No. But apparently she had bruises on her arms, and the guy was there at the bar. So what we did was, as we left, we gave a call to the bar, and we let them know, hey, something's going on with that couple over there. Just be wary of what's going on, because the lady was crying in the bathroom. And the dude was acting really weird. So I don't know if he was on drugs or whatever. But
God.
Anyway, yeah.
Yikes.
It's too bad that stuff like that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you see those ridges on Narcissa's head? Yeah, those are not not human ridges.
Yeah, I mean, they sort of, as a kid or as a teenager, I thought those were just gigantic, like, blood vessels or something, but no. Not at all. And this scene here, it features Shuna Sassy prominently, so that kind of begs the question: is she really a character from only from the reshoots?
I would have to look at the scripts and stuff to see exactly if she was there, but there's always rewrites and stuff, so I don't know.
Well, and they could just put her next to Peliquin and cut her in too.
Oh, I was just looking at Narcissa's scalp. You can see the scales that they painted red. So the original makeup that was green, they really just painted it red.
Yeah.
But you can definitely see scales there.
So now it looks more slimy and visceral, I guess. But
I love Mexico in the background with his little throat hands.
Yeah.
And they move. They were moving when I looked at him. The little throat hands were kind of moving.
Yeah, and you don't really, that's all you get of him,
Yeah.
He features prominently in the video game.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Which one? The graphic adventure or the...
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, you play those games and you review them for our YouTube channel.
I did. Yeah, and since then I've seen a few people have posted links to they did their own reviews of the games, and some people had actually beaten the Nightbreed, the interactive movie, and I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. There's the part where you're running away from Pelican in the graveyard. If you run away if you fail too soon and stop, then he eats you instead of just biting you. And that happened to me over and over and over again.
So I'm glad that they replaced Doug Bradley's voice back into the movie, even though this voice was not that bad. I mean,
well, and people sort of rebelled against Doug Bradley's voice, and I think it's just a familiarity problem, right? I mean, we're all used to this.
I agree.
And it's not fair to Doug Bradley. But this is the movie everybody sort of grew up with.
Yes.
And I like hearing Doug's voice in it again because that's the way it should have been, and it's also something new, right? You were wonderful. There's your necklace.
The tribes of the moon embrace you. Beautiful. I love this part.
Yeah. Of course, he doesn't get very long to settle in.
And of course, you look at this part. It's like, are you ready to be judged by the god? And then Ashbury is going to get judged pretty hard later in the film.
Yeah, exactly.
So you see what would happen if you were not worthy.
Right. I mean, they don't really talk about it, but you kind of assume that. Would that kill you? The blood of Baphomet.
The volatile blood of Baphomet.
Yeah. Would it? If he put his hand in there and put it on your chest and you're not worthy, do you just die?
Yeah, you'd probably be, tormented and turn into a monster, turn into a thing.
Yeah, maybe. I was thinking about, when he releases the Berserkers later, I was thinking about, man, imagine a remake. If they remade this movie now, there would be so much more of the Berserkers killing Hicks,
Sure, yeah.
Because that's so exciting footage, to watch, right? Yeah.
So in the original script, when Lylesburg is baptizing Boone, he was actually wearing gloves. And then when he takes the glove off his right hand, the flesh is cauterized. Oh. So from him putting his hand into the blood many times.
Oh. Huh.
Yeah.
So but in the movie here, they sort of imply that he's immune because he's so in touch with Baphomet, I guess.
They cut a line that they say here. I don't think she says it. It's like Cheryl Ann was supposed to get to Midian and say, looks like the gold rush is over. Because that was a little bit of a reference to the fact that this place grew really fast because of the gold rush. And then, we do get that information from John Agar's character,
Yeah.
When he says prospectors came from all over the world and get buried in Midian.
Yeah.
His name is Curtis. He's a banker.
Yeah. He's got business today. And here's his business.
I love the car.
Yeah. Is he driving on the right side or the left side? That's on the left.
He's driving on the grass.
No, I mean I'm talking about the steering wheel. So later on the car that Boone is driving with, that Boone drives with Narcisse and stuff, the one that when they go to get him out of jail, that has a steering wheel on the right side because it's a British car.
Okay, I never noticed that. Good catch.
Yeah, we'll see it here in a little while.
I have a magnet version of Laurie's pin that I bought in Canada in '93.
Oh, really?
Except it's blue, not orange.
Oh, the pretty little butterfly.
It must have been a common thing around the time, because I did go to Canada in '93. And there's our first contact with Babette.
Yeah.
And it was an emotional moment for Laurie because she took it as a way of channeling her experience as a rescuer of animals.
Yeah. And this kind of set her on that path.
Man, I wonder if the Babette puppet still exists, or if it's just gotten completely disintegrated over the years.
I thought Russell Charrington had it. Or maybe he just had that Pelican.
I think it was a copy made by that guy in Australia, wasn't it?
Oh, maybe so. Oh, Steve Dillon?
His friend.
Oh my gosh.
His name.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
He made that Australian festival that screened the Cabal Cut.
Yeah.
And Babette was played by two twin girls.
Yeah. One of them was good at talking and the other one was good at physical acting.
Yeah.
Of course, she never talks in this theatrical cut.
Yeah. And she only has one line and oh no, she has more than one line, right?
Yeah. But she has the last line in the film, in the extended versions.
On the last wind.
Yeah.
On the next wind, yeah.
Yeah.
I would have preferred, I like the Lylesburg that they do for the movie with the weird face cuts that turn out to be eyes.
Yeah.
But the one in the book is a little more mysterious, right? He's like a smoking man that
his shadow is alive. Yeah, like Dracula in the Coppola. Is it the Coppola Dracula movie? Right?
Yeah, the Bram Stoker's Dracula by Francis Coppola. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess that would have involved a lot more special effects. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they did a good job with the Babette transformations here, I think.
They sure did.
They do several steps, but of course, if it was remade nowadays, they probably would have CGI on screen, looking at each stage of the transformation in succession.
And Boone's corpse in the when the lightning is kind of going through the bite wound looks a lot more natural than than in Hellraiser, which was only 3 years previous.
And I know that Clive doesn't do derivative stuff, but Lylesburg is kind of like the guy from Island of Dr. Moreau, right? The lawgiver.
Right.
If you put ram's horns on Lylesburg, that would just be the exact same character.
Yeah.
That is the law.
Right. Yeah, and he may have that may be sort of an homage.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah. Man, I would hate to have to go up and down those steps all the time if they're full of snakes. What a pain. Somebody's going to slip and fall.
And in the book, this she goes down the stairs, and she's not really attacked. It's more like the shadows being controlled by Lylesburg, kind of sink their hooks in her in a way that she kind of feels a tingling, and she kind of feels like getting frozen in the shadows, and she's like, please, I just want to go. And then the shadows kind of relent as she goes up the stairs again and leaves.
Oh, yeah. And then in the book she finds Cheryl Ann in an abandoned building, right? Or she's supposed to meet her there, and Curtis had taken her
restaurant.
Yeah, Curtis had taken her on a date in a burned out restaurant, and she's like, what's this? What's this all about? What kind of a date is this?
Oh, and here's the country skin playing in the radio. This is actually a country rendition of the song Skin by Oingo Boingo. The lyrics are the same, too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we might put a little bit of a comparison at the end of the episode. I'll send you a clip of the two songs, and you can add that to the ending of the commentary track.
I don't know if I can.
It'll just be a quick 10-second thing.
Yeah, but that's usually enough to get you thrown off of, especially Spotify.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I won't put it there then.
Yeah.
People can go and listen to Oingo Boingo's Skin.
Yeah, Spotify and YouTube would take away monetization, which we don't really care. We don't use it anyway. But Spotify would just, not only do they shut down your episode, but they take away your whole podcast.
No.
Yeah.
So this is one of the few scenes that it's actually Cronenberg wearing the mask. So whenever you see like Decker just running around with the mask on, it's usually just a stand-in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Was he doing The Fly around this time?
Yeah, what year was The Fly?
I think
it was like
he was
88,
writing
maybe?
The Fly or something. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think he was writing a script for another movie. Cronenberg was writing a script for a movie.
Maybe it was Naked Lunch.
Yeah, maybe that was it, yeah.
Because I think Craig Sheffer said that when he was talking to us on when I interviewed him at the Mad Monster Party.
Sure, yeah. Why is Boone punching Cardassians?
Oh, God.
I know, it kind of looks like an alien out of Star Trek, right?
Yeah, they've got the nose ridges of Bajorans.
Bajorans, that's it, yeah.
But they're huge.
I like the attention to detail because he's down there and they have that nice statue of Baphomet that ended up on the London prop store.
Yeah.
And they had those busts of like 6 busts or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Later on, as they constructed more stuff after the movie for comic books and stuff, they ended up, hinting that those were the other saviors of Midian and stuff, the previous. And it's funny how they construct things out of like
but the seven saviors was in the script. That Boone was the 7th savior, yeah.
Yes,
and the comics were based on the script because they hadn't seen anything from the movies when they started the first 4 issues of the Nightbreed comic.
Cool.
One thing I thought was weird about this cemetery is when Laurie's wandering around in the first time, before she's running away from Decker and looking for Boone, and there's that big like blue hand coming up out of a grave, the statue thing, and she doesn't even look at it. She looks like all around it, like she's looking for Boone, but she never looks at that thing and goes, "Well, that's weird."
Yeah, well, it's a weird cemetery all around. Yeah. It's just kind of focused on Boone.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of like old cemeteries. I shouldn't say fan. I like old cemeteries, and it's like, especially the way you guys do them in America. When you see like an old church, you got all those like stone tablets and stuff, and sometimes there are these little monuments, right? In Europe, in my own hometown, we have a lot of those old monuments, like funerary monuments and little. What do you call them? The ones that look like little tiny houses with gates.
Mausoleums.
The whole family is in there.
Yeah, the mausoleum.
So some of those can have a lot of interesting sculptures and statues and like columns and, like in Paris, there's some amazing cemeteries with actual like statues and stuff. Funeral art can be very beautiful.
Boone sort of takes the blame, for the fall of Midian, but I think it's Narcisse's fault, right? If he just left Laurie alone, Boone would have caught up to Decker and killed him.
Here's John Agar with his magnificent tackle box hat.
Yeah, I love there's finger puppets on there. There's a little rubber lizard that's cut in half, and the front half is on his right side there, and the back half is on his left side.
So it's like it's going through his head. That's funny.
Yeah, no, so not exactly, because the cut ends are pointing outwards.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah.
I see it. Oh, I see it. That's so cool.
He's got
I got a little one of those cocktail forks that's on the front.
Yeah,
it's got a little boot.
Yeah, it looks like
you got a whole bunch of Monopoly stuff.
That cocktail fork looks like it's made out of ivory. Or
probably it's made out of plastic.
Maybe or walrus ivory, maybe.
Yeah, no, I have that, and it's just plastic, but it is made to look like that. Yeah, because it's a disposable thing. Just stick a cube of cheese with it and then throw it away.
We see a lot of walrus ivory stuff because natives here are allowed to do that.
Sure, in a sustainable way.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder who was the guy who made this shack. Like, how long did it take you to dress this set? Right?
Right, and it was a reshoot. So this was all done after they were finished with the movie.
Like, it's insane the amount of like stuff that they put in this shack.
Yeah. Christmas lights everywhere, little dolls, and just weird.
A barber chair.
Yeah, weird stuff. I mean, it doesn't even look like a place that a person could live in.
The dolls hanging from their feet.
Yeah.
I wish I wish I could just walk in the middle of that set and just experience it. Oh, a little kitty.
Decker has this superpower of being able to sneak into somebody's house while they're in there, in the same room as them, and like hide from them.
Yep. I have one of those plaster skulls. It got a little broken from eBay, but really? I do have one of the plaster skulls, yes.
That was used in the film?
I'm not sure if it was used in the film, but I do have a plaster skull that me and my brother bought on eBay, and it said that was from Nightbreed.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, it was made of plaster, so it came in a box, and the bottom jaw was kind of broken, so I had to glue it back together. There was a bunch of bits missing.
Is that still in Portugal?
Yes, it's still in Portugal. It's not heavy, but it's pretty big. Because they've gone beyond death. Yeah. And here's the same part where they're talking about Nightbreed going beyond death.
Yeah, and in subsequent versions of the film, you learn that Laurie has this psychic connection to Babette that allows her to go into her mind and see this stuff. But here it's like, oh, she has a superpower to show people the past, I guess. It's not really clear in this version of the movie, but we sort of... It's like
a psychic bond.
It's such a striking image that we all just kind of accept it. But it's weird. It is a little strange. It's not explained in this version of the movie.
Yeah. Hot take. I like Coffee Lady voice on Catherine Chevalier.
Yeah.
I really like that. I think Catherine Chevalier's voice is beautiful, but at the same time, it's like... I think I prefer the raspiness of the voice in the theatrical cut.
I saw that alone in this. When I was watching the credits, I saw that they said the ADR directors, and there were like 6 people on there. So I'm thinking that those are the actual like voices. You know what I mean?
Could be.
Or mixed amongst those people are the voice actors who did like... Lylesburg and my God, man, Babette's mom. Why can't I think of her name?
Rachel. Yeah,
Rachel. Yeah, thank you. I woke up at 5:30 this morning.
That's okay. Whoa. Yeah, but great crypt set here.
Yeah, when
the light goes through the eyes of the skulls, it's just beautiful.
Well, and when Laurie first walks in and you see Rachel standing up against the skulls, and you see how huge that wall of skulls is, with her kind of standing, small by comparison, that's really striking. It's just an amazing set.
I've been to several ossuaries before, and it is pretty striking to be inside an ossuary. We have a couple in Portugal. There's one in Paris. There's another one in Poland or something. And they make like the chandeliers are made out of bones, and then the walls are just lined with skulls, and
wow.
It's striking.
Yeah, I bet. I can't imagine what that would be like in real life.
I saw one of those when I was a kid, and then I saw it again a few times when I was an adult. And it's I don't think I was scared of it. I think it was just amazing. It's just fascinating to see, this chapel is made out of bones.
I think cuts like those on his face and stuff would keep bleeding, right? They wouldn't just like sit there with blood pouring down and it stopped.
Yeah, I mean, the wounds do tend to clot. So
yeah, I guess it depends on how long they've been there.
Yeah. Say it.
Yeah.
Like, I think this scene is a little hokey because of the way that Decker kind of like does the little head jiggle when he like sticks him, and then or don't say it.
Yeah, then don't say it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish he would have been more intimidating and just finish him off and just walk out.
Yeah, but that's all super quotable stuff that we've been all been saying for years.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I'm death, plain and simple. It says indistinct snorting on my subtitles.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I see it. This is the great part of the movie. This is like the showcase.
Yeah, and it's much bigger in extended versions, especially the old Cabal cut that was screened at the film festivals and conventions and stuff. This was really long and really interesting. The parts that you could make out. It had some really, really muddy VHS footage that was hard to understand sometimes.
This is a wild set. We're seeing intercuts of miniatures and also real set with people walking around.
I love that parrot. They just let's put a parrot right there.
Yeah,
why not?
For all we know, he could be a Nightbreed.
Yeah.
Is the Falibu family or whatever
they're called?
Fabilu.
Right. Yeah.
Just generic breed. Here's Beloy Moto.
Yeah.
Just a guy on stilts.
Yeah.
Wearing a part of like, what's the name of the guy with the head in his crotch? The big fat guy.
Yeah. The one who tested all the drugs.
No, the other guy that was from a tribe of people up in the mountains. The really fat one.
Oh, the one that in the comics books he could eat people with his stomach. Yeah,
do you know his name?
I can't remember his name. Yeah.
There's too many to mention. There's actually a lot of such.
Well, and in Occupy Midian time, I remember the names of every single one of them, and now
sure.
It's been a while, and I'm starting to get fuzzy on it.
And here's Leroy Gom and Devil Lude.
Yeah. They're sort of the comedy duo of Midian.
That's right. Ooh, scorpions. Yeah, these guys are just...
Yeah, scorpions in northern Canada. They must be Nightbreed scorpions.
This is supposed to be the guy who...
That's the drug guy, yeah.
Yeah. He took so many drugs, his body forgot his shape. That looks like a fortune teller kind of dude.
Yeah. He's playing solitaire, it looks like.
Looks like meat for the beast.
Yeah. He's eating some kind of other Nightbreed or some weird creature.
Which would be against the law, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess we'd have to... I don't understand. Yeah. They're not going to explain it to us, so... And here's the Toxic Avenger version of Boone.
Boone. Toxic Avenger, yeah. Is being charming Pelican.
Yeah.
Played by Oliver Parker.
Yeah, and this is all a bluff. He's just trying to scare her because he's not going to bite her neck because he didn't even change, right? He doesn't even have his sharp teeth right now.
You want to live forever.
Yeah.
He knows what's coming.
Yeah.
Because, Boone's now going to live forever, so sooner or later, Laurie's going to have to make that decision.
Yeah.
The wonderful statue of Baphomet, who in the movie is played by Bernard Henry when it's animated.
I paid special attention this time around to how big the hands, Baphomet's hands are compared to Boone, because of our character because of Joe's character, right, in our game. And actually, Baphomet's hands are a little bit smaller than what we have, in our D&D game.
Yeah, but it's just a creative liberty.
Right. Well, and then the other aspect of it is our game says that everything that happened in the books is real, but we don't really talk about the movies.
That Nut House Talk.
Yeah.
Charles Hayde.
Yeah.
I remember him from
the
Hill Street Blues.
I was going to say the director's cut screening. We saw him speak to the crowd right in the QA. After the movie.
He stopped by. He spoke to Clive a little bit. He did a little bit of a Q&A, and then he left.
Yeah.
Oh, this is such a great scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember Charles Hayde from Hill Street Blues. That's probably the first thing I saw him in.
Oh.
Where he played Ren. I forgot his name. Renzo. Renk. I don't know. I forgot his character name in Hill Street Blues, but I remember that show. Did you ever watch Hill Street Blues?
No, I think I saw it. Some reruns of it, but not a lot.
Yeah.
And of course, Ann Bobby was in Cop Rock, and after this, and Born on the 4th of July with Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise. He's just chewing the scenery, isn't he?
Oh yeah, yeah, and he ad-libbed some stuff, right? Didn't he? The sailors one. He loved those tattoos, and sailors.
Oh, to Onaka. That's right.
I think he ad-libbed that, didn't he? I think he told us
very
that.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you will find that and more when our book is out.
Yeah, that's right.
Interview book.
Yeah, I need to follow up on that again with our publisher and stuff.
So I'm looking at the Nightbreed making of the film book, and I'm seeing the actual diagrams and plans for this tunnel.
Oh, neat!
Which is it's a really cool behind the scenes look at some of the.
It's the tunnel is a trapezoid shape.
It is
right.
Yes.
It's like a triangle with the point cut off.
And there was a lot of forced perspective in like the chamber of Baphomet, because there's little arches getting smaller in the background.
Yeah.
To pretend like they're longer tunnels than they are.
They did a great job of imitating the large, massive scale on stuff in this movie, like the matte paintings of the cemetery too. You can see a little bit where they blend in with the real world now because of seeing the movie in HD. But I never, in the days when this movie came out, I never could tell, where the matte painting ended and the started and the real world ended. It makes you wonder what would happen to Laurie if she did look in Baphomet's eyes.
Here's a remnant of that cut scene where we see in the making of the film book, there's a whole script scene between Shunasasi and Peliquin.
Yeah.
But that was cut. And now we know why they were together in that room, because in the director's cut, there's a scene with them, right?
Yeah.
Or at least in the Ultimate Cabal cut.
Right, whatever. and you see it a little bit in this cut behind the Nightbreed letters of the opening logo.
Right, where Peliquin is manipulating snakes, and Shunasasi is like raising her, quills on top of like Peliquin.
And Peliquin's jaw drops, and it gets like impossibly huge.
Yeah, that's another scene later in the film, but basically Peliquin was telling Shunasasi, guess he couldn't take the heat.
Yeah.
From talking to Baphomet.
Yeah.
I always wondered if that scene where we see Baphomet pick up Boone and say, you're no longer Boone, you are Cabal. I wonder if that was supposed to be what preceded this scene when he's coming out of the tabernacle.
Oh, yeah, because he does in this version. He sees Cabal. He sees Baphomet twice.
Yeah.
This first time, we don't know what the result was. I mean, he just is not. He's not feeling good, and he's weak. But we didn't see any dialogue between them or anything.
I got a little. There's a gnome behind her.
Yeah, and that stupid cowboy. And what does that say? Something. Calorie Counter Diet is the book that she's got on the table.
And she's eating a huge pastry full of cream.
Yeah. They've got some behind the scenes sort of comedy.
Yeah. So this is one of the reshoots, right? So this is one of those things that they said we have to have more slasher scenes.
Yeah.
Hey, remember when you had to register in hotels and on a paper book?
Yes, I do, unfortunately.
Arnie.
And I'm sure there's
a simple effect.
There's a lot of backwater hotels that probably still do that.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And then smush.
And here's Decker, being able to sort of teleport around the back of her. Right. Of
course, yeah, that's a trope.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a magazine I got from our buddy Mike Lloyd, a film review from October 1990, and there's a little review here for Nightbreed. They gave it 3 stars. Opening date September 28. Certificate 18. It says the creature feature that features more creatures than any other feature. That's the opening of the review. And what a marvelous array of ugly little breathers they are. I guess he kind of missed the point that the breathers are the humans, not the Nightbreed. Conceived and created in Britain, they range from our front cover's porcupine girl to a crescent-headed lunartic.
Wait, did it say breeders or breathers?
Breeders with a D.
Oh, okay.
Taking in en route all manner of pug ugly unmentionables in between. But being ugly doesn't necessarily mean being bad. For the underlying message of Nightbreed, directed by Hellraiser Clive Barker, author of Cabal, the book on which it's based is that appearances can be deceptive, and that good guys don't always look like we've been conditioned to expect them to.
Did this guy actually read the book?
Yeah, I guess.
Wow.
I don't know. Probably just the movie. The film isn't always as compulsively watchable as the creatures it features. It's hard to fathom at times, especially during a climactic final fight sequence when it's hard to suss who's doing what to who.
Really?
But if not always comprehensible, it's never less than entertaining. And being British to boot, it's extra worthy of your admission money. Nightbreed's main setting is Midian, a legendary city that's hidden beneath the icy wastes of Canada's Alberta region. The icy wastes. The home of the Nightbreed, an ancient race of myth-making monstrosities, is a place of refuge where all sins are forgiven. Hearing its call are a motley bunch of surface worlders. They include Boone, Craig Sheffer, a man wanted for murder, nowhere else to run. Laurie and Bobby, Boone's girlfriend, torn between her love for him and the horror of what lurks within him. Dector, cult horror director David Cronenberg, a psychiatrist who fears the power that Boone commands. Eigerman, Charles Hayde, a cop obsessed with Boone's capture. And a psychopathic killer committed to Boone's death. Their pilgrimage to the labyrinthine necropolis of Nightbreed provokes a bloody clash between men and monsters.
Well, he didn't give away about Decker. That was nice.
Yeah. And we have Craig Spector and there's a special thanks at the end for Phil.
Oh.
Craig Spector and what was the other guy? Two splatterpunk writers that are actually in the scene there. Yeah, this is a cool magazine that I got from Mike Lloyd. It's got Tuna Sassy on the cover.
That's cool.
Nightbreed, a real spine chiller. Thanks, Mike.
So this part always bugged me. And, not bugged me like I think it's bad, but it's just like, it's a part in the movie where you go, oh, come on, dude, couldn't you just get out of there? Did you have to incriminate yourself so badly? I mean, he's not even the killer, and he's, making himself look guilty.
Yeah. Well, he's covered in blood.
Yeah.
He's a person.
And then the
crime scene.
And then Ashbury, he's allowed to hang out in his cell with the door open.
Well, he's being held by another couple of cops.
Yeah, but, why is his cell door open?
Because he wasn't in it yet?
No, I said Ashbury.
Oh,
Ashbury's cell was open
tank,
but he could have just walked out if he wanted to.
Well, until he sees a cop, and then he's like, "Get back in your cell, you drunk."
Yeah, and they close the door on him.
Yikes! Also, you never know if that hallway door is open. I think it's usually closed, right?
Yeah.
When Rachel tries to get inside the jail cell, she has to go through the door.
Yeah. So I tried to watch for what Mark and Andrew Furtado were talking about as far as like the camera going around 180 degrees during the interrogation, and I don't know. I guess I just don't see it, or I don't see why it's an issue.
Oh, right, because they reversed that shot for the director's cut.
And then his little patch that says he's in the, sheer neck police or whatever was backwards in the director's cut.
Right. So I think that just raised another problem, right? So it's a solution in search of a problem, and I didn't think it was necessary, but
Yeah. And it was on the and that put it on the left side of his shirt instead of the right side, or the other way around, the right side of his shirt instead of the left.
Well, it was done on kind of a deadline, so mistakes happen.
That's in the director's cut, not in this version. So the issue that they're fixing is there's a sort of a rule in filmmaking that you don't turn the camera around 180 degrees because it's disorienting.
Were you disoriented?
No. I mean, I think it's fine. I guess that's...
Yeah, I know the rule, but it's like, how many people know about that rule and understand what it means? I mean,
I took a film class in college, and then Japanese film in Japan, and
now people notice that sheer neck is mirrored and it's on the different side of his shirt. So that just raises another problem, but that's okay.
I mean, we just went through that whole scene, and it's like I'm having trouble even finding what they're talking about.
Not lying down, Dad.
Yeah.
Walking around my fucking cell, Dad.
Yeah. Now, what have you got to say about that?
I love it. I love this part.
It's like, what I've got to say about it is I've been trying to warn you this whole time. You guys talk to me like I was crazy.
How easy it is to communicate through a big cinder block wall.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's just like paper walls.
Right.
I can feel it. Man, I understand the feeling of feeling observed or watched.
Yeah.
But
and I know, this is sort of another linchpin of the movie. If Onaka hadn't been standing right there, if he'd just stayed down below, they wouldn't have even had. Maybe they would have just left.
It's like they didn't need to pull that earring off of his nipple. Jesus Christ!
Yeah, what a it's like he just wanted to torture him.
That cop that's got his hair his hat is lopsided. The other guy that's being grabbed by. Yeah. He just looks like such a fake policeman.
Yeah.
He looks like he would be scratching his head with his gun or something, in Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Patine seems like the most senior one in this scene, right?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, and then that guy is like a doofus. And then
there's bird makeup here.
And then there's the other guy who's even more of a clod who runs over and throws up all over himself.
Patine.
Yeah.
Patine, God damn it.
And then later he's talking on the CB out of a car that's on fire. It's like you should probably just get away from that car. Of course,
torched our cars.
Yeah, of course in 1989, when they were filming this, nobody had cell phones. I mean, you had to be a big fancy person to have a cell phone, but
he does a big leap of logic here saying, "We got the perfect weapon above our heads."
Yeah.
You don't know if all the Nightbreed will blow up in the sun. That's a big leap of logic.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think from their point of view, it's easier to think that they're all the same, than to think that they're all different. They don't know.
Oh, let me check now to see if the steering wheel is on the other side.
Yeah. So Boone, when they're coming back, Boone is driving and he's on the right side.
Okay. Well, you do see that Narcisse walks around the sun, is driving, and nothing's wrong with him. And even Rachel, she's got her veil on, but I think... Yeah, it kind of hints that she's protecting herself from the sun, but,
Yeah. Boone just needs sunglasses. He's like Blade, right? He doesn't like the sun much, but he's okay.
I don't like Ashbury's character very much. I think he's very flat and two-dimensional.
Yeah. That was the other thing that they talked about during the editing of the director's cut is his like looking up and down instead of left to right, and that's something I don't know. Maybe I'm not a film expert. I just I don't see it.
Oh, this shot is great, and it's a little expanded.
Yeah.
You would have the cop going through all the guns and explaining the garrote.
Yeah.
And he ended up contacting us, right?
Yeah. The guy who played
Rob.
the guy who played Kane. Yeah,
Yes.
Rob Ridenauer did an interview on our blog.
That's right.
And
It's
and
a
his
cool,
thoughts
it's a
about
cool
the
scene,
director's cut and stuff.
Actually, let me see if I can pull that up, because that was interesting.
We should put that in the show
attention to
notes.
that.
Yeah.
I love a coward.
Yeah. Yeah. This breaking into this jail to get to spring Boone seems it's a lot easier than it probably should have been. These guys are kind of incompetent, especially the way they all when things go, when things start to go down, they all start shooting each other by accident.
Right. It's just showing that they're confused and they're incompetent and inept.
Yeah.
Small town cops,
Here he goes, Ray?
Stereotypical.
After he shot him, he's like, Ray?
Yeah. Are you okay?
Yeah. But he obviously isn't thinking too hard about it, because he's like, oh, naked lady.
Yep. Well, she kind of mesmerizes him, right? I mean, I think that would be one of like Rachel's powers.
Yeah, maybe so.
And when he opens the door, Narcisse kind of gives her an up and down look and goes like,
Yeah. I'll put in a link to my all the Nightbreed versions explained. Because why not? And then we're going to do a link to Rob's interview with the actor who played Kane.
Yes, actor George Roth. So, over the years, I'm quoting Rob's article. It says, over the years, Roth has apparently believed that Clive wasn't a fan of the work he did in the film, and that's why most of his favorite scenes hit the cutting room floor. Apparently, he didn't know about all the studio meddling that affected the film during his production, and he wrote a letter to Clive. It's a very touching letter, and it's good to see Roth can finally see his scenes the way Clive Barker always intended them to be seen.
Yeah, that was cool.
And it says, and the letter was, Clive, thank you. I had the pleasure of working with you on Nightbreed playing Kane. It was fun. You were great to work with. I loved it. And, you can read the rest from the... It's a long letter. Yeah. Yeah,
it was Mark Goldblatt that really cut him mostly out of the movie. At the direction of his, producers and stuff, of course. But
it was a very unintentionally funny and also a little bit creepy scene where he's going through all the weapons in the arsenal, right?
Yeah, and the garrote.
And the garrote, and then he licks the garrote very, lewdly.
Yeah.
And Ashbury, of course, making the connection to the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Because Midian is mentioned in the Bible, apparently. The kings of Midian.
Yeah.
Beautiful matte painting here.
Yeah.
Of the gates. It's a pretty striking gate.
Yeah. So here we'll see Boone driving on the right side.
Oh, good catch. Yeah.
Because it's...
the Sons of the Free t-shirt.
Yeah.
The guy that was carrying the
that's
the gas.
right. Somebody
I found a way to copy it from the making of the film book, and I do have a scan of the logo, so I could make a t-shirt for myself if I wanted to, yeah.
Oh.
Although, why would I want to wear a t-shirt of the Sons of the Free?
Right. Yeah,
Ironically, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is an interesting point too, that these Sons of the Free characters, that seems more of an American thing than a Canadian.
Oh, sure, yeah, like militias and stuff. Yeah,
So going crazy with all these bazookas and machine guns and stuff.
Right. Yeah, bazooka. What the hell?
And flamethrowers. Yeah. And they obviously they're incompetent.
The militarization. Yeah. The use of surplus military material.
Yeah.
And the joining of militias and police into like this weird rednecky kind of like force.
Yeah, and that's clearly not because it's legal, or authorized. It's because the police are part of it, and they probably start it's their own
overlap.
Their own hobby. Exactly. It's their own hobby that they, and they bring it together.
I think did you see when Cronenberg, like the explosion hits and Cronenberg kind of does that surprise recoil kind of thing? Yeah, I wonder if he knew that they were going to blow up, or if that was just something like, okay, we'll do it on the count of three.
Good point.
Head nod, boom, and it's like, oh, that was real.
But I like it. I mean, it's a great, it feels like a real reaction. He's like, whoa, I haven't even put my mask on yet.
And the whole thing about the mask not speaking, like you said, like the internal monologue of characters is hard to put into film.
Yeah.
But there's a whole monologue in the book between Dr. Decker and his mask.
Yeah.
Right. It's like a split personality kind of thing.
And the mask speaks in Decker's voice. So, I mean, I guess it could be a little confusing.
Hey, remind me, do we hear the mask speak to Decker in the Cabal cut? We don't, right?
Oh, shoot.
I would have to watch that again because I haven't watched it in several years.
The Blu-ray, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to sometimes it's hard to keep track of what's in what versions.
There goes Lori.
Yeah, wow. She's lucky she just landed on that pile of blankets or whatever.
Oh, I saw a Nightbreed carrying a lyre.
Yeah.
Did you get that idea for the D&D game where we have like a lyre for one of our characters?
That was mainly because I was looking for the most powerful musical instrument,
Right, for a lyre,
and that just happened to be it.
For a bard.
The Klee lyre, yeah. Because Babette's, I mean, she's super powerful, or not Babette, Musette. She's super powerful now, but she started out at a disadvantage compared to the other characters, so I kind of gave her that to balance it out.
Leroy Gaume and his wonderful juggling eels.
Yeah.
Oh, that Come to Daddy is totally a reference to Hellraiser.
Oh, yeah. It seems like a lot of work for him to bring those out, though. It's not. I mean, I don't know how good he would be at using them for fighting.
Yeah, well, you see him using them at one point, but
just once.
It's funny because you can definitely tell that was a reverse shot where they pulled like some wire to bring them down into his gut.
Yeah,
because the flames are burning backwards in the shot. But,
Yeah, he's like, oh, my lucky day! I get to shoot a woman holding a child that look human. What's wrong with this guy?
Yeah, he's a bad guy. He's like, she's helping the freaks, so she's got to die.
Yeah, his only emotion is that he feels lucky that it's not something that's attacking him, that he can just shoot him without getting hurt.
Yeah. Well, genocide is a big thing for some of these guys.
And here's the end of Patine.
So when you saw the Cabal cut the first time, this scene went on forever and ever,
like
right?
40 minutes, yeah.
There were two guys standing on a bridge with their feet swinging, and they were just shooting people going sniping under the bridge.
And it had a Holocaust feel instead of an action movie feel.
Oh my God, Ashbury, I hate this guy so much. Like, you're killing children. Like, just if you're gonna shoot.
Yeah.
I just don't like Ashbury's character, and I don't like the actor. It's just I don't think it was that good. Maybe once he gets transformed, he becomes a little more interesting. But
yeah, I talked to him briefly, in Portland at a screening of the Cabal cut, because he went there and went up on the stage with Russell Charrington and to do a QA, about the movie, and he had some strong kind of emotions about this whole time, and none of this stuff is part of his life anymore, even though he was really big into in the comics, the Nightbreed comics.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, but at
the time I think it was Clive's boyfriend.
Yeah. Yeah, and I never noticed until seeing this in HD that the first guy that took the quill in between his shoulder blades there, he's got like some kind of like crusty stuff around his mouth after he goes down.
Yeah, it's like it's foaming at the mouth or something.
Yeah.
It's reflecting the effect of the toxin, right?
Right, yeah, because her quills, in the comics, they go on to say later that if you just touch one, you die.
I like that the sound gets muffled when Kane falls under her spell. So
yeah,
it's like he's being mesmerized again.
By,
Shunasasi, just like the other guy gets mesmerized by Rachel. I guess.
Yeah, and you hear like a heartbeat.
It focuses on just those two characters.
Yeah. And the other people are screaming for him to get away, and you can't hear him because it's his point of view.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Oh, and his friends, right? The other cops are screaming for him to get away from her.
Yeah, but at that time he's just completely mesmerized.
Yeah, and so he can't even hear him, and we can't hear him. I think it's a cool effect.
I have Loudsburg's key. I could release the Berserkers at any time. Don't tempt me.
Yeah. Yeah, if we get any negative YouTube comments on this, then that's what you're going to do.
I'll sick the Berserkers on you.
Yeah.
That's a promise. Yeah, I got the chain. It's pretty heavy. The chain is pretty heavy.
Oh.
Yeah, that thing is... I think with a chain, that thing probably weighs like maybe 10 pounds or something.
And the medallion is like PVC, right?
Yeah, it's like PVC piping with like some Sculpey, and then it was painted and distressed to look like copper with like that green patina. It's like Loot is taking like their spines through their backs or something.
Yeah. I imagine he'd like smushed his head or something. So this scene, and then subsequently when Boone comes down, we only get really, really tiny glimpses of the people who are taking Baphomet apart to wrap up his body parts and sort of spirit them away before Midian falls apart. Because of everything else that's going on in the scenes, the audience doesn't even realize that's going on. I never really knew it until I really studied this.
Yeah, and in this shot where he says, "What are you doing?" all of a sudden it's just a regular shot of Baphomet.
Yeah.
And you don't see the people with the big forks, wrapping up the pieces and all that stuff.
Yeah.
There was this monster that's going to show up now. He shows up in the computer game, right? The flying shark.
He shows up in both computer games.
Wow. They really like that character, huh?
Yeah, in the action game, you have to either duck under him or jump over him when he flies at you, and when you're Boone. And
the animation of this one could be a little better in the movie, but
and now in HD, the fact that he's an optical effect, is a lot clearer.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that thing, baby.
Yeah, and this line got taken out of the director's cut, right? Go get 'em, boys.
I disagree vehemently with that choice. Yeah, he just goes up, and they run.
And this,
go get 'em, boys.
Yeah, and this really makes you cheer for the Nightbreed, right? Seeing the Berserkers come up and just But we only get like a minute of this, of the berserkers, taking out all these guys. And I wish that it was more.
Well, it is more in the Cabal cut, in the director's cut as well, right? We see them like slow motion running out, and there's a few more shots of them.
Yeah, and probably some of it was taken out because they have male anatomy that's really prominent.
They did have the big balls and the big wiener with a big plastic ball hanging on the top.
Yeah. And then, oh my God. Yeah. There's fire everywhere, and this guy's running around in the middle of it with his flamethrower. What a moron.
Well, it's a trope, right? I mean, how many movies have we seen like guys like, oh, what am I doing? Oh, no. Boom, and it blows up.
Yeah. And he keeps on screaming after it explodes for a second.
Yeah, it's either they shoot him in the tank and it starts like flaming out of the tank and it explodes, or he backs into something. And oh, and you see there was a cop making out with a woman inside a car while this is going on?
Yeah.
There was a scene in one of the scripts, right? One of the versions.
Yeah, it was more than just making out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But that, the reality of that is it's stupid. Even beyond how stupid these characters are, that stretches credibility, right? Their lives are in danger.
You got a murder boner.
Yeah.
I wish we had seen more of like Peliquin fighting people and getting hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand he got run over by a car.
But that flip over the truck is awesome, right? And that's what makes everybody think, he's the Boba Fett of Nightbreed, because he looks really cool. And it seems like if he starts doing stuff, it's going to be awesome, but you don't really get to see what he can do. And that's kind of what Boba Fett is in the old Star Wars movies, up until recently.
Someone bumps into him and his jetpack activates, and he turns into like a burp joke with a Sarlacc.
Yeah, exactly.
This Wall of Prophecy, again, how beautiful. And how sad it was for Clive one day to, after wrapping the photography, he came to the set one day and he cried. Yeah. He saw that someone had taken a chainsaw to the Wall of Prophecy, ripped it all down, and then,
he needed Indiana Jones to come over and say, that belongs in a museum.
Right.
It really does. I mean, it's for, we're biased. We're Clive Barker fans, but this is really an important part of cinematic history.
No, that's one of those things that happens. Nobody thinks about, but movies, after they're done, a lot of these sets get destroyed or recycled or whatever. It's they don't keep all this stuff.
And this was a huge part of Clive's life for a year, and a massive undertaking to make this movie, for everybody involved.
It was. Like, I bet all these like rope bridges ended up in like, trash containers.
Oh, yeah. Well, and a bunch of
even the Image Animation people told us that when they were doing Hellraiser or Hellbound, they were shooting Tim Burton's Batman, right?
And that's what I was going to say. They got some of the tombstones and stuff from the dumpsters from Batman, the Batman shoot.
Yeah, because they weren't technically allowed to use that, because that's why they were throwing them out, because they didn't want anybody else to have that stuff show up in their movies.
Sometimes it's better to ask forgiveness than permission.
Oh, that should be an episode title. Sometimes it's better to ask forgiveness than permission.
Yeah.
And there we go.
And of course, this is supposed to be the end of Decker in the script and everything. And it's in the reshoots that they, everybody loves Decker and he's a slasher, so he's got to come back at the end, because that's what slashers do in slasher movies.
Thanks to your association when I mentioned the dance step art in Decker's. And like, you see that, the dance steps on Decker's office, then you see great dance, huh? Death everywhere, and you and me in the middle. And then finally, when he kills him, he says, one last dance.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a little arc there.
It's a three-part. That's interesting, huh?
I just put that together now.
Yeah.
Probably people are like, you just did that now.
Yeah, Well, I don't know if anybody else caught that. I mean, that's the very first time you ever... when you pointed out those weird dance step things on his wall, I never noticed that before.
Serendipity.
Yeah.
So it seems like the people wrapping up Baphomet are doing a really slow job of it.
Yeah, but at the same time, when they're done, they're out of there, and then it seems really fast.
Yeah.
Rachel, I guess, is helping.
So those were like fiber optic stuff.
Yeah.
And the wonderful sculpt by Jeff Portis for Baphomet.
And in the story of our D&D game, one of the guys who was, taking the hand got smushed by a falling rock on his way out the door, and the hand stayed. And that's how Ralph got it.
Yeah, when he climbs into the ruins of Midian.
Yeah.
Now people are thinking, what the hell are these guys talking about? We're talking about Jericho Squad 77, our D&D game that you can find on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, exactly. It's also in audio on our podcast, too. And they added new optical effects for Baphomet in the director's cut, and they made the symbol on Boone's forehead that's really hard to see before. I never even knew it existed. They made it glow so you could see it better in the director's cut.
And they added that to Laurie too when she comes back as a Nightbreed, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it's all gonna blow.
Yeah.
There's Clay and
Otis and Clay, yeah.
Otis and Clay, yeah.
Is he? Yeah. I guess he makes it out. And there's and Kinski has one of the body parts. It's a long, narrow one. Maybe it's one of those head tentacles.
These explosions are very sparky.
Yeah, they are.
They're like fireworks going off.
Yeah, and that's not the explosives from the Sons of the Free. That's Baphomet doing those.
Yeah. So I guess now Midian's just one big crater.
Yeah.
I hope everybody got out on time.
Yeah. I'm sure some of them didn't.
Little miniature barn set there.
Yeah. I wonder whose barn this is. They obviously use it recently because they've got new hay in there.
Yeah, that's all stuck on the floor. That's just patches of fake hay that they put up on the pinewood thing.
Well, but there's bales of hay that they're sitting on.
Oh, yeah, that's true. It is. Stephen Jones, who edited and wrote some of the A through Z of Horror book that we're celebrating today doing this commentary track. His sister is in the breed right there on the left side of Kinski, the woman with the blue face.
Oh, look at that.
Yep. That is his sister.
That's cool. I did not know that.
And this, I was listening to some podcasts about Nightbreed comparison between the theatrical cut and the Blu-ray. And there's these two guys who spend like 10 minutes, I swear to God, talking about post-credits scene in the director's cut. I don't remember if it's really there, but it's like an alternate ending. I was like, there's no post-credits scenes in the director's cut.
No, it's in the 2017 Cabal cut. They made this scene a post-credits scene.
That is probably what they were thinking about. Yes.
Yeah. And it's easy to get confused because those came out just 3 years apart from each other.
Right.
But there was a little bit of backlash because people love this scene. And this is not part of Clive's vision. This was reshoot stuff. And this was like, hey, slasher villain needs to have a bigger part, so let's bring him back to life at the end.
Ew.
Yeah.
I love the crescendo music, like, da-da, and then the fire gets brighter and it shines on his mask.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's the moment where it's like the magic is happening.
Yeah, and it's a great scene. I mean, Clive Barker still directed it, right? As far as we know. And it looks amazing. And it
looks amazing.
And it really leaves you from the theater going, whoa.
I know. And it's like, it's one of the things, I'm glad they put it back in the Cabal cut because I really like this ending.
Yeah.
And it would open up, of course, nothing's going to happen now, but it would have opened up the room for a sequel, right?
Yeah, I think and in the sequel there would have been Ashbury and Decker hunting Nightbreed.
And I'm sure at that point, Decker would never take off his mask, because I don't think Cronenberg would have come back for like a sequel.
Exactly. Yeah. The mask would just be a part of him.
Yeah.
And he probably wouldn't talk because he's just roaring at the end there.
Man, we got robbed of having sequels for this. This could have become so much more. This could have become an entire franchise like Hellraiser.
Yeah.
And somehow it didn't.
So then the question is, a part of this is that maybe the audience wasn't ready for a movie where the monsters were the good guys. I don't know. Maybe it's ahead of its time. So then the real question is, if Clive had been able to make the movie like he wanted, would it have been a big success like Hellraiser, or would it have still had problems?
I think it would still have had problems.
Yeah.
Because when you look at even the Cabal cut, I mean, it's limited to what they could shoot, right? It's limited to the footage that they could shoot and how they shot it. Yeah. And I think I don't know that if a literal adaptation of the book as a movie would have been better with the budget they had and with it's hard to say. I mean, who knows, right?
Yeah. They had some pretty big advantages. I mean, they had image animation. They had a huge amount of really interesting, cool monsters. They had the score by Danny Elfman, Clive Barker's direction. You know, those were all a lot of cool things going for it.
I think that definitely making it a little closer to the book could have helped understand the characters more. It could have helped definitely if we had a little bit of that internal monologue, if we had the Masque talk to Decker, you know, and something like that. That would have made it more interesting, like the Decker character.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, oh, this is just a guy who likes to put on a mask and go kill people.
Right.
It's so much deeper. It goes so much deeper than that in the book for the Decker character. And I don't know. I think it would have been better if it had adapted the book a little closer in that respect. Like I said, you know, I complained about Boone not being tormented enough, being like this handsome fella, you know, who's got a fancy apartment. And like, I would have liked to see him be more like more of an underdog.
Yeah.
And be more tormented and then come out on top of it at the end, which kind of happens to this one. But it's like I was saying, in the book, he would go weeks without showering. He would be a really tormented person.
But then it makes you kind of wonder why was Laurie with him still in the book?
Yeah, true.
Because he was like, he had real huge problems.
He did, and Laurie was kind of like, I can fix him kind of character.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly.
And she also was kind of like a little, you know, Mo-ish. She's kind of a Mo character. She's like a little, but she really becomes a lot more than that at the end of the movie. Their arcs are a little fuller in the book than it is in the movie. And I think that one of the things that just bothered me about the ending of the theatrical cut was the fact that it makes it seem that, okay, well, I came into your lives, I wrecked everything, I'm your messiah now, but I'm going to take off with my girlfriend, bye, leaving you guys in the barn.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? It seems like he's just leaving them, right?
Yeah, right. And it was supposed to be a little more clear that he was going to go find them a new home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which in the book, it's much clearer. Like, you know, it's much more well explained what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then they continue that in the comic books from Epic Comics. And, you know, we do see more of the breed going into the world, you know, carrying Baphomet and Boone eventually meeting up with them, and them meeting up with each group meeting up with each other. And
Cabal merges with Baphomet at one point. Yes,
he does in Jihad. In the comic book series Jihad, which is Hellraiser versus Nightbreed. And here's this is someone else.
Yeah, it's his skin.
I never know. Yeah.
But on the CD soundtrack, they call it Country Skin because it's the country version, like you said.
And then if you go listen to Oingo Boingo, there's a song called Skin, which is exactly the same lyrics.
Yeah. And I guess we missed it. I was going to look out for the ADR But that's all gone. I think we're now at the end of the credits here, but.
And it's just if you peel away the orange and look underneath, if you look below, underneath another layer, blah blah blah. It's like just like Narcissus,
I thought it was
right?
if you peel away the onion. I thought it was an onion.
It might be onion
because they have more layers, so you can just keep on peeling them over and over again.
I was reading the subtitles on my DVD, and that might be a little janky.
Oh, did it say orange?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that makes more sense as onion, because an onion, you can peel an onion and have more layers underneath. Yeah.
Well, so we'll have to go. I want to go, because now that we've mentioned this, that my DVD had the trivia facts that were wrong, that said Clive Barker directed Candyman, and yours had a bad trivia fact, right? That said that
Clive wrote Inferno,
Hellraiser Inferno. I mean, oh my God, that's even worse than the one I had.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look for that, and I'll take a screenshot and I'll post it. Once I find that. Yeah,
I'm just looking at the FBI warning in English and French.
Oh,
so
okay.
I don't know if this is even Canadian DVD or something.
Yeah, and I'm now back on because I'm watching the Blu-ray that came with the director's cut box set. So now I'm back on the main menu again.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, I'll put in my DVD and check that out, because now I want to know. And I'm putting it on the record. I'm going to post that. So if I believe that all these years and I was wrong, I guess we'll find out.
Oh yeah, and my DVD has the soundtrack in English, which is the 2.0, Dolby Surround 5.1, and Dolby Surround Stereo. And I think when they released it on Blu-ray, they just did the 2.0 for the audio track.
I was just going to mention that it doesn't have they didn't put the surround sound on the Blu-ray. So I guess the idea was they wanted to make it as true to the theatrical experience as possible, or they're saving money, or both.
Yeah, I guess they just dropped the ball on that.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have been that hard for them to just put in the audio track for the Dolby Surround 5.1.
Yeah, from the DVD.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What's coming up next?
So coming up next, we have our next letter in the A to Z commentaries is W for Window, and we'll be talking about Masque of the Red Death, because it's based on Edgar Allan Poe stuff. So we'll be doing Masque of the Red Death movie. We'll have more interviews. We're working on interviews right now, and more Jericho Squad. And if we can get our sponsor, people who sponsored episodes to commit to a time, we'll start doing some of those too. We got 3 of those. Looking at you, Eric, and Midian and Ian.
Yeah, we're working on that. So those should happen shortly. It's going to be fun, and I'm looking forward to more Jericho Squad. And I will add more notes here to the show notes that you can click below. And I hope you guys have a good time watching the Nightbreed theatrical cut. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, one quick thing before we sign out. I want to return back to our Twitter poll, right?
Yes.
For what are people's favorite versions of Nightbreed? Coming in last is the theatrical cut. Nobody voted for that. The director's cut is in the lead with 55% of the votes. And then the Cabal Cut 2017 Blu-ray is at 36% of the votes. And then the early Cabal Cut, the 2012 through 13, festival version, is at 9%.
Well, you just put it up like this morning, a few hours ago, so I'm sure there's still time for it to get more votes. And we'll keep you guys posted on that one for the next news episode.
And there's a link in the show notes there. So if you're listening to this the day we release it, Sunday, the 17th of July, or the next day, Monday, the 18th, 2022, then you will have a chance to vote in that before it's over. It's just a 24-hour poll, but I'll be interested to see what everybody thinks and where it comes out.
Awesome. Yeah. So this was a lot of fun. Thanks for joining us for this, and thanks for doing this with me, Ryan. This is always fun to join you for these things. I have a great time with you.
Yeah, and I would have thought that after doing 2 commentaries for Nightbreed that we would have run out of things to say, but that was not the case.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And this podcast, having no beginning, will have no end.
Thank you for joining us, and we hope you have subscribed. You can find the Clive Barker podcast wherever you find audio. Show notes for this episode, as well as news and reviews, can be found at our website at www.clivebarkercast.com. The Clive Barker Podcast, or BarkerCast, is an independent editorial podcast and blog that is not affiliated with or under contract by Clive Barker or Seraphim Inc. This is a labor of love by the fans for the fans. Watch for our annual Kickstarter fundraisers to get some cool stuff, and you can buy t-shirts on our TeePublic store. Go to teepublic.com and search for BarkerCast.
Thanks for listening.